I know I'm not the only one who's ever ran into someone that completely baffled you with some of their takes on life. Whether it be their political worldview, societal issues, or relationships, they never seem to amaze you on how wrong they are. Not only are they wrong, but they insist that you're the one that has it all wrong. Might even go as far as insulting you and your intelligence, directly and or indirectly. In this video, we'll be discussing a phenomenon that's been around for a while, but started gaining momentum in the last 7 to 10 years. The topic of discussion will be the Manosphere. We'll be looking into its ideology and execution of said ideology. We'll also be looking into brain rot. The purpose of that is to bring everything together to better understand what Manosphere Brain Rot actually is. No, it isn't a diagnosis or anything of that nature. It's something that I've noticed gaining traction with many young men from all walks of life, and it's beginning to frighten me just how indoctrinated they are through this school of thought. I believe that this school of thought is the reason why we're in the latest political climate that we're in, but I'll discuss that later. I would like to warn you, if you're a member of the Manosphere or a Manosphere sympathizer, you may want to tap out of the video now. If not, you're definitely going to hear some things that you don't agree with and probably lose your mind in the comment section. I want to tell you now that I'll probably see it, but I will most definitely ignore it. I've been around and seen the construct to fully understand what it's about, and this video is made for those who may not understand it, teetering back and forth with whether they should subscribe to it or not, and like-minded individuals. Perhaps you're just curious about what my takes are on the social construct, and I'm completely fine with that, but let's be respectful because I know how some of you Manosphere mental midgets get. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, leave a comment with some feedback, and share. Thanks again for tapping in, and enjoy the video. The definition of the Manosphere, according to Wikipedia, is a varied collection of websites, blogs, and online forums promoting masculinity, misogyny, and opposition to feminism. And to be honest, that's what it is in a nutshell. Small corner carved out in the internet space where men may be suffering from heartbreak, lack of female interaction, which can lead to misogyny, and men's rights activists feel safe to express how they feel about women and their place in society. What I also notice is they also harbor overt and covert racists within their ranks as well. Give me a second, we'll get back to that shortly. As you may already know, members of this construct will agree on their takes about this so-called bias against men in society, which within itself sounds absolutely absurd. Are there double standards? Yes, but that's just the way society is constructed. Another factor is the signs of the time that we're living in. But if you look at diversity and inclusion as a threat to manhood, I don't know what to tell you. They also like to believe that feminism promotes misandry. In my opinion, that's an oversimplification of how some feminists may feel. But to say feminism promotes misandry is disingenuous and highly ignorant. Are there women within the feminist movement that promote misandry? Absolutely. But some of those women have been through trauma that involved men that they never healed from or may never heal from. But to say that all feminists promote misandry is highly irresponsible. I've seen members of this social construct promoting and condoning violence against women. I've even seen young men who were heartbroken use Manosphere philosophy as some sort of coping mechanism. The reason that this happens is because they have no one to talk to regarding their heartbreak, or they're too embarrassed to discuss it with someone due to them being vulnerable. And you know what they say, men can't be vulnerable. I'm not going to dive into the mental makeup of some of the members of the Manosphere, but I recommend these videos by FD Signifier, who does a complete breakdown of the Manosphere and its members. It's really great work. The part that bothers me the most is seeing young black men getting involved in this nonsense. When I see young black men subscribing to an ideology that has white supremacists, far right-wing Christians, talking points, and regurgitating it, I almost feel hopeless. Not just for these young black men, but for the entire collective. I say this because if our young men can easily subscribe to something as hateful as this, we have to do a better job at raising our children as a village. You wouldn't believe how much I see black men disrespect black women on the internet. And many of the talking points they use are from the Manosphere, which is rooted in bigotry and racism. Did I mention that they have their own form of pseudoscience? Yes, the Manosphere has likened the male human species to wolves. So what I did there? Liken, human, wolves? All jokes aside, they do subscribe to a pseudoscience that labels males alpha or beta, where alphas are seen as sexually dominant and are attractive to women. They also claim that women are more attracted to alphas and are more inclined to have sex with them. The reason why they don't is because betas have money and spend it on them. I promise you, I'm not making this up. Alpha fucks, beta bucks. What frightens me the most about this is there are women out there that will believe this pseudoscience and repeat it like it's gospel. That's extremely dangerous. I've been called all types of names on the internet by these Manospherians. I like that. I never get fazed by them because once I start looking into their lives, you see why they feel like their manhood is being attacked. It's sad and unfortunate that the gender wars has led to this because now it's affecting society. We'll get into that later on. It's a term used to define the perceived deterioration of a person's mental state. It can also refer to the low quality or lack of value of certain online content and the effects it has on its users. The latter fits the topic of the video a lot better. I say this because when we defined the manosphere previously, we acknowledged that it is an online social media construct. It also fits because we also already identified that the content provided from said construct is of low quality and lacks value. I'll go as far as saying it's somewhat sociopathic and lacks empathy, but we'll dive deeper later on. I'm not going to get too crazy with the history of the word, but it was originally used in a book titled Walden by Henry David Thoreau. He was criticizing what he saw as a decline in intellectual standards, with complex ideas being less highly regarded. This sounds eerily similar to the anti-intellectualism that we deal with today. Regarding the online setting, it was used as early as 2004. 2007, the term brain rot was used to describe dating game shows, video games, and hanging out online. Post-mid-aughts is when the word increased and reached popularity in 2020 through Discord. Just last year, it was frequently used when discussing Gen Alpha's digital habits. Critics express that Gen Alpha is excessively immersed in online culture. I've read many of these reports from said critics. Although a lot of their information is correct, I do disagree with them stating that Gen Alpha's vocabulary, consisting exclusively of internet references, is a result of brain rot. I disagree with it because slang has always and always will be around. But that's another topic altogether. Revisiting the critics' take on Gen Alpha's excessive immersion in online culture, I wanted to add that this is the reason the Manosphere gained popularity in the first place. Due to everyone being fully immersed, not just Gen Alpha, the talking points and ideology of the Manosphere took off. Well, I guess now is the time to get to the meat and potatoes.
Donald Trump is the exact type of president that is elected in a country where more than 50% of the population cannot read above a 6th grade level. This man is the illiterates president. And a lot of people don't know this, but white people make up the majority of illiterate people in the United States. Every time I see this man speak in public, not only do I get secondhand embarrassment, but I genuinely feel like I'm going crazy asking myself how someone who is that stupid can even receive one freaking vote. But it's not difficult when you consider that a lot of his voters voted for him because they see themselves in him. He is accessible to them. With his limited vocabulary, his poor emotional intelligence, his predatory ways, these people see themselves in him. In his book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, Neil Postman talks exactly about this. Something interesting that he mentioned is how a lot of the founding fathers and presidents of the past would not actually be elected in today's America. A lot of our early presidents were elected based on their credentials. A lot of them were lawyers, academics. These men were also amazing orators. They were great speakers. They didn't get on stage babbling, making jokes like a fucking baboon. People would literally go to presidential debates and these men would be talking for hours, and they had the attention of their constituents. But you cannot separate politics from entertainment in today's America. And you can see exactly that. Politics in this
Okay, where do I begin with this one? Maybe Kevin Samuels, or should I start off with Fresh and Fit? Perhaps Aiden Ross? What about just pearly things? Or what about Andrew Tate, the guy everyone reveres in the Manosphere? I can't get into those people without discussing the man that actually set the atmosphere for the Manosphere to exist. I'm not saying he created the space, but he set up the energy and talking points that many of these individuals use. That man I'm speaking about is Jordan Peterson, a Canadian psychologist, author, and media commentator that identified as a classical liberal and a traditionalist. He made a name for himself on YouTube back in 2016 with a series of videos criticizing a bill in Canada that prohibited discrimination against gender identity and expression. You know, that got the good old boys in the Manosphere riled up. He has also said that there is an ongoing crisis of masculinity and backlash against masculinity in which the masculine spirit is under assault. He accused left-wing politics of characterizing the existing social hierarchy as an oppressive patriarchy. If you notice, his talking points are very manosphere-ish. As I stated earlier, I won't go too deep into the background of Jordan Peterson because it is nuanced and I'll end up going off topic. Definitely check out those videos I recommended earlier. Links in the description box. How many of you knew that Andrew Tate was screwing Jordan Peterson's daughter? Now, I don't know if that's how they became familiar with each other, but I know they share the same ideologies and talking points. Unlike Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate has the aesthetic of what the Manosphere would call an alpha male. I believe this is the reason why he gained so much traction, because he looked like the part he was hyping up. Alpha fucks, beta bucks. Now take what Jordan Peterson said and multiply that by 1,000,000 and you have Andrew Tate. I want you to follow me before I get to the brain rot portion, now that I've explained where the energy of the Manosphere came from and its slow rise to popularity. You'll start seeing more individuals adopt these talking points and adding a little bit of their own bigotry to it. And before you know it, you have a little quarter of these incels and edgelords disrespecting women and people from an alternative lifestyle. This would go on to birth the Red Pill podcast, which came into prominence during the pandemic. Perhaps the most popular out of these Red Pill podcasts is Fresh and Fit. I only want to focus on the misogyny when it comes to these guys, because if I were to discuss the internalized racism that these hosts suffer from, that would be a whole other video. They objectify and hypersexualize women, which fits perfectly in the Manosphere side of things. The hosts and guests of the show have berated women and even got physical with women on the show. At first, I didn't understand how such a show can reach this level of popularity, but I wasn't aware of the Manosphere at the time. We can't forget the likes of Aiden Ross, who's a streamer that thinks he has profound takes when all he's doing is regurgitating whatever the person he idolizes is saying. Another person very similar to this is Sneeko, another one of those streamers who use their platform to spew childish takes on gender and masculinity. And this is another guy who is at war with his internalized biases and has spewed or was complicit in some racist shit. Now, this takes us to perhaps the most baffling and interesting case of the whole Manosphere thing. Just pearly things. A white woman grifting in the Manosphere space. I say grifting because there's been several occasions where she's been exposed for not actually believing in the things that she spews on the internet. She knows it's a quick payday, and she'll say whatever she needs to in order to get the pay. And that includes berating women and members of the LGBTQ community. It wouldn't be right if I didn't mention the man that perhaps ushered in the Black Manosphere, Kevin Samuels. I don't need to get into much detail about the man because there are videos still revering this man even after his death. There are viral videos of him berating black women unapologetically. I believe he galvanized many black boys and men to start subscribing to this ideology. We even began to see a slight rise in black conservatives. Maybe it wasn't a rise, perhaps they've always been around. They just had someone to gather around. I say that to say this. He was no different than Andrew Tate or even just pearly things. Remember, the definition I use for brain rot. It's a term to use to define the low quality or lack of value of certain online content and the effects it has on its users. Now picture someone on a daily basis consuming this type of content, thinking it's infallible. On top of that, dealing with heartbreak or rejection. And we splash in some easily influenced and or highly impressionable individuals. What do you think they'll sound or look like? Pretty scary, right? And that's what we're dealing with today. I stated earlier that I believe we currently are in our political climate due to the Manosphere Brain Rot. Let me elaborate on what I meant. You've heard the talking points I brought up earlier in regard to the Manosphere. If you were paying attention to the Tangerine campaign run, he used a lot of their talking points and even went on Aiden Ross's live stream to reach out to his young supporters. The Tangerine administration knew that if we can get these young men to vote based off their hate of women and the LGBTQ community, they got the election in the bag. Well, we know the results of the election. Check out What Do We Do Now episode where I discuss it briefly. So, we have an entire community of individuals either creating or promoting this lack of value, low quality content to highly impressionable boys and men, and at the same time berating women and the LGBTQ community. Sounds like a recipe for disaster. If you made it this far, I would like to say thank you for watching. You could have been doing anything else, but you took your time off to watch my video. I truly appreciate that. Please be sure to like the video, leave your feedback in the comment section, and share the video. I hope I was able to open some eyes with this video regarding Manosphere Brain Rot. Perhaps your friend or a family member is suffering from it, or maybe you're suffering from it now and didn't realize it until after this video. It doesn't make them or you a bad person. Perhaps you or they were vulnerable, which made you susceptible to manipulation. A lot of these guys are charismatic and sound like they know what they're talking about. Not too many people will fact check them because as long as it sounds right to them, it has to be right for everyone else. I just hope things turn for the better because if this continues, God knows where this bullshit will take society to next. I'm DSP, and thanks for watching the video.